Mr. Chairman, for the opportunity, and thank you, Secretary Becerra, for being here today, and to your staff for all the work and the progress that's been made to a very imperfect system, and its history goes back a long, long ways. As a former and current foster parent, this issue is near and dear to my heart. I've seen some of the trials and tribulations that children have endured as it relates to trauma. I've seen their resilience, but this remains a challenge to our system, and certainly to your office and the Office of Refugee Resettlement. Is it fair to say that the protocols that you utilize in placing children are pretty similar to what most states in the union utilize when placing children?
Foster care programs also try to look to the best practices for child welfare. So I can't say they're exactly the same, but we follow the best practices of child welfare professionals.
And those are pretty rigorous, I might say, as someone who is currently abiding by them. So yes.
You would know.
Most of these children arrive after experiencing severe trauma. Can you describe some of the resources that ORR provides to children as it relates to mental health and emotional well-being, and if they're made available in other languages besides English?
So yes, because so many of the kids come with no familiarity with language, with English, so we do provide language services support. In terms of behavioral health, we do a full assessment of the child once the Department of Homeland Security places them in our care. And we try to make sure we're checking for their physical and mental health to make sure we provide them with the professionals that they might need. And so that could be any number of things. Obviously, the smaller they are, the more intense and professional the service must be. But on behavioral health, mental health services, we will do an assessment and then provide them with the services that they need in our care.
And under your leadership, Mr. Secretary, HHS has finalized much-needed regulations aimed at protecting unaccompanied children. The regulation implements and codified protections required by the Flores settlement and enhances the legal framework as well for the case and treatment of unaccompanied children. Can you describe how the new regulations will help improve the protection of unaccompanied children?
And again, we're talking about the foundational rule, which to respond to the previous questions by the Congressman, it would be inconsistent with the Flores settlement, the court case, for us to not do background checks. So we must do background checks, not only because our rule says it, but because the case law says we must do it as well. Well, what else do? We provide an ombudsman office. That office is there to make sure staff or stakeholders can report any incident and do it with someone who's impartial and independent of the work that we do to report any incidents that are of concern. We make sure that we provide enhanced medical services, to your point about behavioral health. We provide enhanced educational services to children, and we try to provide legal advocacy services as well.
Thank you. And my final question is, I'm asking you to look at the future from what you have internalized so far during your tenure in your position. As we continue to see migration driven by violence, political unrest, climate change, and economic instability, especially in the hemisphere, how is ORR preparing or should be preparing for potential future surges in possible unaccompanied children at the border?
We have, and this is an excellent question, Congressman, because we never have a clear sense of how many kids will come to our care from the Department of Homeland Security. Obviously, in 2021, there were large numbers. Today, we have got a system that really can manage the children that are coming to us. But what we do is we have to prepare, because we can't afford to not have a place for a child. The consequence is to leave them in an adult detention facility at DHS. And so we make arrangements with potential care providers to have them available. We also have what we call emergency influx facilities that we can quickly ramp up in the event that we have a large influx of children, so we can provide them the services they need.
Very well. Thank you very much. My time's almost expired. Mr. Chairman, I yield back.
Chairman yields back.